My boyfriend said he had no money for meals and asked me to lend him 10,000 yuan. That night, my junior female schoolmate posted a moment on WeChat. Thank you, senior, for the LV. In the photo, a man's arm was showing at the bottom right corner. And the watch on it looked very familiar. It was the 1-year anniversary gift I gave to my boyfriend. I took a screenshot and sent it to my boyfriend. Explain this? He didn't reply until the next day. Don't think too much. It's just an entrance to school gift. Oh. Really? Then what about my entrance to school gift? He sent a cute emoji. Of course I won't forget my baby. The gift is on the way. I stared at my junior's WeChat moment. Lost in thought. My boyfriend didn't have much money. How could he afford to give a more than 7,000 and do an LV bag? The junior's name is Luna. She joined our club last year. She has a sweet tongue and is full of tricks. Everyone likes her. Later, during an event, whenever all of us got together, I found out that Blake knew her. They were from the same place. In plain terms, they were childhood sweethearts. I asked Blake why they didn't get together if they were childhood sweethearts. Blake smiled and said, "Don't think too much. We're just ordinary friends. Not really childhood sweethearts. But a woman's intuition told me they had secrets." I had been with my boyfriend for over a year. And he had never given me a gift worth more than 1,000 yuan. First, his family really didn't have much money. Second, I could buy whatever I wanted myself as I wasn't short of money. But I couldn't figure out where he got the money to give Luna such an expensive bag. The next day, Blake called me and asked me to come downstairs. He was standing downstairs, holding a delicate box in his arms. I never expected that my boyfriend's gift would be a handwritten copy of Rhapsody on Shanglin. I have to admit that I was really shocked when I received it. "How long did it take you to write this?" I asked. Blake smiled and stroked my head. "As long as you like it." Rather than the value of the gift, I cared more about the thought behind it. Touched, I reached out to hug him. But suddenly a sweet voice sounded behind me, "Brother Blake." Blake took a half step back subtly. And my hand missed him. The girl skipped to Blake's side and asked with a smile, "Brother Blake, why are you at the girls' dormitory?" Blake looked at her with a smile. "Don't you have classes today?" "I caught a cold. So I didn't go." "What's wrong? Do you need to see a doctor?" Blake asked immediately. Luna ignored him and turned to greet me. "Good morning, senior sister." I didn't expect senior sister to look so good even without makeup. I had come down in a hurry and indeed didn't put on makeup. I silently put on my hat. "Well, you two go ahead. I'll go to the hospital to buy some medicine." After saying that, she seemed about to leave. Blake stopped her. "I'm afraid you can't go alone. Shall I go with you?" He turned his head. "Arya, shall we go for a meal tomorrow?" "Luna, no need. Brother Blake, I don't want to delay your date." For some reason, I felt she was being sarcastic. I let go of my hand. "We can have a meal any day. But the illness can't be delayed. You go with your junior sister." "Luna, well. Then thank you, senior sister. I thought it would only take half a day to buy some medicine at most." But unexpectedly, the two of them were out for a whole day. In the evening, Blake sent me a message. "I'm so tired today. Baby, what are you doing?" I didn't reply. Luna posted a WeChat moment with 9 pictures. She and Blake had gone to an amusement park. No wonder they were tired. I hesitated for a while, looking at the Rhapsody on Shanglin on the table. I comforted myself that they were just friends. And it was normal for friends to go to an amusement park. On Saturday, I booked a restaurant and made an appointment with Blake for a meal. After waiting for a few minutes, Blake came. And with him was Luna. They were chatting and laughing. And Luna even punched him on the chest. "Senior sister." Luna ran to me and rubbed her face against mine affectionately. I tilted my head slightly, not quite used to her enthusiasm. "We weren't that close. Were we?" Luna didn't mind at all. She took my arm. "Senior sister, I'm here to have a free meal." Blake sat down opposite me. He said, "It's the same whether it's 2 people or 3 people eating. You don't mind, do you?" It's so clever of him to act first and then inform me. If you wanted to bring someone, couldn't you tell me in advance on WeChat or by phone? Now that the person is already here, you're asking me if I mind? I forced a smile. Let's eat together then. Luna smiled brightly. Seeing your sister is so nice. Then she sat down opposite me, right next to Blake. Blake didn't have any objections. He even moved in a bit to make more room for her. I frowned. My WeChat rang. It was a message from Blake. Blake, Luna is having Japanese cuisine for the first time. Sitting here. I can't eat her. Baby. Don't be angry. Blake, baby. You know I don't have much money. Can you say that I paid for this meal? So that Luna can tell my mom that I'm doing well at college when she goes back. I didn't say anything and didn't reply to him either. I knew Blake's family was poor. In the second semester of our freshman year, he took a part-time job off campus. On a 40°C day, he was handing out flyers under the big sun. I had just come out of Wanda, and he handed me a flyer. A new milk tea shop is opening. Madame, would you like to take a look? I took off the sunglasses I had just put on and said in surprise. Blake? He turned around and was about to leave. I grabbed his hand. You told me you were busy recently. Busy handing out flyers? He pursed his lips, and it took him a long time to say. Valentine's Day is coming up. I want to invite you to a meal. I was silent. He continued. My living expenses are limited. And my family can't give me more money. So I want to do a part-time job to earn as much as I can and take you to a better place for a meal. Sincerity is always a killer move. I have to admit that I was deeply touched. Forget it. I thought. I looked up at Blake and nodded slightly. Then I transferred 6,000 yuan to him. The Japanese cuisine cost 2,000 yuan per person. For 3 people, it's 6,000 yuan, which is Blake's living expenses for 3 months. After the meal, Luna suggested walking back. Brother Blake, you've really made it. You paid 6,000 yuan without batting an eye? Luna walked beside him, tilting her head to look at him, her eyes full of envy. Blake smiled. Well, my part-time job has been quite profitable recently. Luna, then I'll follow you from now on. She changed the subject. Senior sister. Since Brother Blake treats you to such expensive things, what do you usually treat Brother Blake to? I looked at her suspiciously. She blinked innocently. I don't mean anything. I'm just asking casually. I sneered. I usually take him to roadside food stalls. 60 yuan per person buffets. And small restaurants on the street. He enjoys it. What's wrong? Blake quickly grabbed my hand. Arya. Don't be angry. She's outspoken. I'll teach her a lesson later. Luna was about to say something. But Blake glared at her and stopped her. A boy with his head down was walking towards us. Blake and I both saw him. Luna was walking backwards and didn't see him. By the time we wanted to warn her, she had already bumped into him. Who is it? Luna turned around impatiently. Because it was night. Neither of us could see clearly at first. When he looked up, we realized he was an acquaintance. He was Blake's roommate Ethan. We had a gathering once before. He sang Jay Choo's Stranded. And his voice was more mature than his age. So he left a deep impression on me. Not only did he sing well, but Ethan also had a face that was hard to forget. Luna's impatient expression instantly turned cute. Brother Ethan. Ethan nodded slightly. Looked at Blake. And finally looked at me. He smiled and said, Arya. I also smiled. Hi. He was the youngest in their dormitory. So it was okay for him to call me sister. Blake walked up to him. Going out so late? Is there something wrong? Do you need me to leave the light on for you? He reached out, trying to pat Ethan's shoulder. But Ethan subtly avoided it. Blake's hand froze in the air, looking extremely awkward. No need. I won't be back tonight. As he passed by me, he seemed to want to say something but held back. In the end, he left without saying anything. When I got back to the dormitory at night, my roommates grilled me about where I had been having fun. I told them what had happened today. Daisy sat up on her bed. That junior sister doesn't seem like a good person at all. What does it have to do with her what you treat Blake to? Vivian also stuck her head out. Exactly. And Arya. Don't be angry when I say this. But what Blake did is a bit off-putting. She looked at my expression. And seeing that I wasn't angry, she continued. It was supposed to be a date for the two of you. Not only did he bring a third wheel, but he also lied in front of that third wheel, saying that he paid for the meal, when in fact, you paid in the end. Arya, although we all know you're rich and don't care about this money, what Blake did is really a bit off-putting. I looked at the neatly placed Rhapsody on Shanglin on the table and didn't say anything in the end. Of course I knew what he did was off-putting. Sunny finished a game and joined us. And Arya, he's never given you such an expensive bag, but he gave it to that junior sister. You really need to think about this. Daisy, I've always been confused. Why would a beautiful and rich woman like you like someone like Blake? Arya, why don't you like me instead? I only care about money. Nothing else. I threw a pillow at her with a smile. Get lost. But seriously, why do you like Blake? He's not particularly outstanding. I folded my arms. Okay. Whoever can drink me under the table. I'll tell you. The next day, these girls were eager to try at a roadside food stall outside the school, trying to drink me under the table. But unfortunately, they couldn't outdrink me. You little weaklings. Let's fight for another 300 rounds. I shouted. Daisy quickly waved her hand. I give up. I give up. Sunny asked. Can I call someone? I raised my eyebrows. Call anyone you want. If I pass out, I lose. Unexpectedly, the person Sunny called was Ethan. Arya, don't be arrogant. As of now, I've never seen anyone who can outdrink Ethan. Ethan sat down. He raised his eyebrows and looked at me. Truth-telling time? After several rounds of drinking, I passed out. Sunny laughed wickedly. Ahaha, Arya, you've been defeated this time. When the freshmen entered the school, I had two big suitcases beside me. There were many freshmen coming and going. And there were also many seniors offering to help carry luggage. But strangely, no senior paid attention to me. I took a look at my face with my phone. My makeup was perfect and my smile was proper. So what on earth was wrong? Just as I was puzzled, Blake appeared. He was wearing glasses and smiling gently. Classmate, do you need any help? Yes. I replied quickly, afraid that he would run away. Unexpectedly, although Blake looked weak, he was quite strong. He dragged one suitcase in each hand effortlessly. Which department are you from? Senior? I asked. I'm a freshman this year. Just like you. I was a bit stunned. Sorry. I thought. Blake stopped, pushed his glasses with a smile, and said, It's okay. I'm a guy. It's my pleasure. Looking at the admiring glances from people around towards Blake, in a flash, I suddenly remembered a sentence from a short video. The senior just wants to get to know you simply. Not to kill himself. These two big suitcases are really a handful. This made me feel even more favorable towards Blake. We exchanged WeChat IDs. And thus got to know each other. I invited him to dinner in the evening. When I went to pay the bill, I found that he had already paid. How could I let a girl pay for the first meal? I said I would treat you. Next time. You can treat me next time. Blake quietly made an appointment for the next meeting. After getting along for a while, I found that this guy had a positive outlook on life, was willing to endure hardships, and was extremely meticulous. He also often gave me some small handmade items. Like a singing rabbit he recorded himself and a DIY handmade cake. I couldn't help but develop a crush on him. And Blake confessed to me on Valentine's Day. Naturally, we got together. The past is the past. And the present is the present. Daisy said after listening. Vivian, listening to you. Blake seems to be okay. But I always feel something is off. I burped. When he was chasing me, Blake always rushed to pay the bill. But after we got together, he stopped. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. After all, in a relationship, it should be give and take. When we went shopping, I would also buy him some nice clothes when I saw them. He refused at first, but then gave in under my insistence. Later, when I bought him clothes, he would try them on very naturally. After learning that Blake didn't have much money, I often secretly transferred money to him. He found out about it 3 times out of 10. Arya. This makes me feel like I'm living off you and that I'm a failure. It doesn't matter. Blake. Only the two of us know about this. As long as I don't think you're a failure. It's fine. Every time. Blake would be very touched and hug me, saying over and over again, I will definitely treat you well. Later. He started to play the pity card on purpose. He wouldn't directly ask me for money, but would tell me in a roundabout way that he was out of money. After doing this many times, probably feeling it wasn't good, he started to borrow money from me. But he never paid it back. He always told me, when I have money, I'll buy you whatever you want. Later, he simply sent me a payment request with the amount set. Daisy slapped the table and said, he's painting you a pie. You idiot. I smiled bitterly. How could I not know that he was painting me a pie? On our first anniversary, he gave me a jar of stars, holding the heavy folded paper stars. I was deeply moved. Blake, I folded them one by one late at night. It took me a long time. Arya. Don't think they're cheap. I really put a lot of thought into it. Ethan suddenly chuckled. I looked at him suspiciously and asked, what are you laughing at? He shook his head and said, go on. Every festival, he would make some small things to make me happy. Although they weren't expensive. They were his sincere feelings. A few days ago, he gave me the ode to the Shanglin Garden that he said he had written for 2 months. He said, Arya, let's take our time. As long as it's you, I'm willing. And I was always drowning in his tenderness and sincerity again and again. What if all that sincerity is a lie? Ethan asked me with a smile. What do you mean? My mind couldn't quite catch up. Ethan hooked his lips into a smile, reached out to pick up the wine glass. His fingers were well defined and very nice. Arya. Stars can be folded by others on behalf of you. And the ode to the Shanglin Garden can also be written by someone else. I stared at him blankly. For a moment, my scalp went numb. I just found out today that there are shops on Taobao that offer to write the ode to the Shanglin Garden on behalf of others. As for the stars, you can just buy the pre-folded ones. Suddenly, I remembered when he gave me the stars on our anniversary. I asked him what he wanted. Blake lowered his head and said, no need. You've already spent a lot of money on me. I said inferiorly. If a boyfriend can spend money on his girlfriend, why can't a girlfriend spend money on her boyfriend? Arya. I don't have much money. I can't even give you expensive gifts. Others give their girlfriends bags, shoes, and lipsticks. I can only give you the stars I've folded for half a year. How could I dare to ask you to give me a watch? Huh? Watch? What watch? He took out his phone and showed me a picture. This one. It was a Rolex. Costing 66 yuan. Without hesitation, I placed an order immediately. He hugged me and said, Arya, I will love you forever. Daisy exclaimed. 66 yuan? You bought it for him just like that? I nodded. And I even forgot our anniversary at that time and always felt sorry for him. Sunny. What about now? Now I think Blake seems to be fleecing me for money. Vivian looked relieved and said, you're not too stupid after all. Daisy, so when are you going to break up with him? My fingertips paused slightly. After all, we had been together for over a year. It was impossible to say that I had no feelings for him. But what he did really disgusted me. After thinking it over and over again, I took out my phone and called him. After the call was connected, it was Luna's sweet voice. Hello? Senior? My heart instantly turned cold. I asked, where's Blake? Brother Blake went to the toilet to smoke. We're at the arcade. Are you coming? Senior? I could even imagine the proud look on her face when she said this. I chuckled and said, no. Please tell him for me that we're breaking up. Then I hung up the phone. Daisy gave me a thumbs up. And Vivian and Sunny also praised me for doing a good job. Ethan gently clinked his glass with mine and smiled. Arya. Congratulations. Blake called at 11 p. It seemed he had come back from the arcade. Arya? What's wrong? Why did you suddenly break up with me? I didn't say anything. Is it because of Luna? She was in a bad mood today. So I accompanied her to play video games at the arcade. Don't think too much. Arya. Are you jealous? He said with a smile. Come on. Don't be jealous. I swear I'll keep my distance from her in the future. Don't be angry. Okay? I felt like vomiting. Blake. Did Luna not convey my message accurately? He paused. Are you serious? I sneered. It's my fault. I didn't block your number. Which gave you the chance to disgust me like this. Arya. What do you mean? I simply sat up. Why don't you ask yourself this question? Do I look like I'm short of pre-folded stars from Taobao or the Ode to the Shanglin Garden written by someone else? There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. I clicked my tongue and hung up. The next second, he called again. Arya. My birthday is in a few days. Will you come? Please. I promise I won't pester you anymore. Just accompany me for this last birthday. His voice was choked with sobs. Please. On Blake's birthday, I went with my roommates. He booked a large private room and invited many of our mutual friends. When everyone arrived, he took the microphone and sang a song. Exclusive Memory. After the song, everyone applauded. He slowly walked up to me. Someone handed him a large bouquet of roses. He knelt down on one knee and looked at me affectionately. Arya. Since the moment we met, you've been the star that never sets. Day and night. I frowned. What was this all about? And where did he steal this line from? He handed the flowers to me. I really like you. Since we're going to grow old together anyway, why not be with me? Arya. I will always cherish you. Value you, Duo. Love you. And dote on you. Will you marry me? It was very quiet around. Blake raised the roses a little higher. Arya. There's no one else between us. And there won't be. This is my promise to you. I did a lot of wrong things before. But please believe that I really love you. I'm absolutely sincere to you. I frowned even more. A sneer came from the crowd. It was Ethan. He was propping one leg on the chair in front of the karaoke machine. Someone asked him. What are you laughing at? Ethan glanced at me. Slightly raised his lips. And said. I'm laughing because today is a great day. Blake turned his head. He stiffened his neck and said. I won't get up until you agree to me today. Someone in the crowd took the lead and said. Agree. And the others started to cheer. I looked around and asked. Where's Luna? A flash of panic passed through Blake's eyes. But he quickly hid it. She doesn't matter. You really misunderstood us. I smiled. Took the microphone and the roses. Then threw the flowers at Blake's head. I don't want to. Thank you. And if I wasn't clear enough on the phone, I'll say it one last time. We're broken up. And I hope you can pay back the money you borrowed from me as soon as possible. I calculated yesterday. It's 35,000 yuan in total. And also return the watch to me. I don't mind spending money to sue you. Thank you. Blake clenched his fists and said in a low voice. Do you really have to make it so embarrassing? I spread my hands. Embarrassing? Did I call these people? Did I choose this occasion? Or did I start the cheering? My roommate Daisy said in a sarcastic tone. Wasn't it our Blake who started the moral kidnapping first? Choosing such an important occasion as his birthday. Calling so many people. What? Did you think our Arya wouldn't refuse for the sake of your face? My roommate Sunny chimed in. Why didn't you call Junior Luna? Aren't you good friends? How could she be absent on such an important day? Or, you two have an improper relationship, so she can't bless you with a smile? That's why you didn't call her? Good for them. They all have sharp tongues. Blake stood up, looking at me with sadness in his eyes. Do you think so too? Yes. I do. In the end, it ended in a bad mood. When I was about to leave, Blake wouldn't let me go. Ethan stood in front of us. He gave Blake a warning glare. Finally, having fulfilled way, Blake didn't stop me. Ethan accompanied me all the way to the downstairs of my dormitory. Before I could say, thank you, he interrupted me. You're welcome. My greatest hobby is helping others. Then, how about I treat you to a meal next time? I probed. Okay. He replied quickly. as if he was afraid I'd regret it. I smiled. What? Afraid I'll back out? Ethan said seriously. I eat a lot. I hope you won't regret it, sister. The next day, I was still racking my brains thinking about what to treat him to when Sunny rushed into the dormitory. Big news. Arya. You're famous. Photos of Ethan and me top the school's forum. In the photo taken downstairs of the dormitory, I was covering my mouth, with smiles in my eyes and brows. Ethan was standing in front of me, looking at me tenderly. The photos were really well taken. Anyone who saw them would think we were a sweet couple. The title was even more eye-catching. This is the reason you broke up with me. Goodness. The poster was Blake. Damn. This is explosive. Who is the guy in the photo? Which department is he from? I need to know. Sing here. Please. The girl looks so innocent. I can't tell she's the type to cheat. The girl looks like she'd cheat. Wake up. The one upstairs. She's from our department. What a shame. An insider reveal insider information. The two have been together for almost a year. And the guy is super nice to the girl. So, you shouldn't date good-looking girls. You might get cheated on one day without even knowing. Daisy threw her phone down. He's turning the tables? Vivian was typing quickly on the keyboard. These idiots. What the hell are they talking about? Don't they understand the principle of not commenting without knowing the truth? I'll teach them a lesson today. Only Sunny came over to me mysteriously. Are you and Ethan together? I slapped her head away and turned on the computer. Get lost. I'm going to expose Blake today. Down to his underwear. That bastard. Spreading rumors about me. Sorting out evidence was a big deal. I was so busy that I didn't remember I was supposed to treat Ethan to a meal until he called in the afternoon. How about tomorrow? I'm a bit busy today. Is it about the forum? His voice was low. Yes. I hope it didn't cause you any trouble. I don't know who took the photos. Blake is really underhanded. Is it that annoying for you to be associated with me? He said. Brother. Is that the point to focus on? That's not what I mean. Then it's okay. Come downstairs and let's go eat. Wait for me for 10 minutes. I'll put on some makeup? No need. We're going to eat hot pot. We had just sat down for a few minutes when Blake, accompanied by his eager-to-learn junior sister Luna, also came. It seemed they were here to eat hot pot too. When Blake saw us, his face turned dark. Luna, however, deliberately walked over. Senior sister. Are you having hot pot with your new boyfriend? I ignored her. She persisted. Is it the Sichuan one? A meatball got stuck in my throat. Neither going up nor down. Making my face turn red. Ethan handed me a glass of water and gently patted my back. After I got my breath back, he stood up and glanced at Luna unfairly. What? Did Blake treat you to a Sichuan meal? He sneered. Pretty cheap. Luna was furious. What are you talking about? Brother Blake is not that kind of person. And neither am I. Brother Ethan. This kind of woman isn't worth it. One moment she was Brother Blake's girlfriend. And the next she's trying to hit on you. There might be God knows how many other men out there. I stood up. Your mouth is so venomous. Your life must be really bitter, right? If you spread one more rumor about me, do you believe I'll slap you left and right and smash your face? Blake stepped forward, grabbed Luna's hand, and gave me an annoyed look. Dare to do it but not admit it? I sneered, raised my hand, and slapped him hard. For a moment, everyone was stunned. Damn it. This guy's face is so tough. It hurt my hand. I cursed viciously. You son of a bitch. This slap is for you spreading rumors about me. Which eye of yours saw me cheating? I was really blind to have fallen for you. A despicable guy. You're such a bad omen. You bastard. If you spread rumors about me again, do you believe I'll expose you completely? After breaking up, you turn the tables and say I cheated. What? Trying to create a victim persona? Do you believe I'll print out the chat records of you borrowing money and give one copy to everyone in the school? Blake was stunned for a long time. When he came to his senses, he wanted to hit me. Ethan grabbed his hand tightly, and Blake couldn't move. I sneered. Try touching me. I'll see you until you rot in jail. The two were secretly competing. Ethan didn't even frown, while Blake was already grimacing in pain. Seeing more and more people gathering around, Luna tugged at his shoulder and whispered, "Forget it. Brother Blake. Let's go." Blake gritted his teeth and spat out 2 words from between his teeth. "Let go." In the end, the two left in a sorry state. On the way back, I kept regretting. I definitely didn't slap him hard enough. Ethan gloated. "Don't worry, sister. I'm sure that slap wasn't light. His face will be swollen for a few days." I was a bit confused. "You two live in the same dormitory. Won't it be awkward?" "I don't live in the dormitory anymore. I rented a house outside." "Oh, Ethan, I'm quite curious. We're not that familiar. Are we? Why did you help me?" I turned to look at him. Ethan smiled brightly. "I can't stand scumbags?" I thought for a moment. That makes sense. The post about Ethan and me on the forum was quickly taken down. The next day, when I was having lunch in the first cafeteria, Blake plopped down opposite me and said to me seriously that he had no money. I almost spat out the food in my mouth onto his face. "What do you mean?" "I'll pay back the money I borrowed. But the watch, sneakers, and other things you gave me. There's no reason to take back what you've given away. I didn't force you back then. You gave them to me willingly. And didn't I give you a gift too?" I couldn't help it and broke the chopsticks in my hand. "You're really shameless. Aren't you?" It was lunchtime, and there were already a lot of people around. I raised my voice a little, and soon a lot of people gathered around. "What's going on?" "It seems they broke up and she's asking for something back. Once you give something away, it belongs to the other person. There's no reason to take it back." A female voice suddenly came from the side. I didn't even need to look to know that Luna, that little bitch, had come. She walked up to Blake, sneered distaffanially. "Brother Blake, did you ever think she was such a person when you were dating?" She then faced the others. "Would you take back the gifts you gave after breaking up?" Everyone shook their heads. For a moment, the various gazes on me were quite something. Luna held her head high arrogantly. "I wouldn't either. If you gave them willingly when you were together, why take them back after breaking up?" Yo, did you not brush your teeth this morning? Your mouth stinks so bad that I can smell it from afar." I laughed and cursed. "Asked your good brother what kind of trash he gave me." Blake didn't say anything. Luna stood there like a mother hen protecting her chicks. "Stop talking nonsense. There's no reason to take back what you've given away." Daisy pulled her chair back, put her long legs on the table, looking like a tough-as-nails sister. "Luna, shut the fuck up. What do you have to do with the matter between them? Do you have any shame? Who are you to Blake? His mistress or his adopted sister? Why are you so talkative?" That passage was full of swear words. Luna bit her lip, and tears welled up in her eyes immediately. She looked so pitiful. Blake immediately pulled her behind him. "It has nothing to do with her," Sunny said. Yo, you're really protective. Okay. Let's talk about you. You've been with Arya for over a year and spent over 100,000 and you want of her money. You were just trying to milk her for money. Now you even sold the 1-year anniversary gift she gave you and bought a new bag for your good sister? The watch was sold? When did this happen? Why didn't I know?" Blake looked like he wanted to say something but held back. He subconsciously put his hand into his sleeve. Good for him. I stood up with a smile. Blake, hire a lawyer. I've decided to sue you." The situation took a sudden turn. The onlookers quickly went to the forum. And I was on the hot topic again. Shocking. Being milked for over 100,000 and you on in a 1-year relationship. Looking at a bunch of people asking for my contact information below. I felt a terrible headache. My WeChat rang. It was Ethan calling. On the phone, his voice was more magnetic than usual. "So you're a rich sister," I was helpless. "Don't make fun of me. How did Sunny know that Blake sold the watch? Did you tell her?" "Yeah. He put it up for sale on Jianyu." I gritted my teeth. That damned guy. In fact, 66,000 yuan is not a small amount. At that time, I forgot our 1-year anniversary and felt really guilty towards him. So when I saw the price, I didn't hesitate, thinking it could make up for it. I never expected that in Blake's eyes. This gift was nothing. Or perhaps I was nothing to him. Sister? Ethan called me several times before I came back to my senses. Huh? What's wrong? I said. What are you going to do now? Sue him. I'm free today. How about I accompany you to the law firm? After changing my clothes and going downstairs, Ethan was already waiting downstairs. He was wearing a white hoodie and light blue jeans today, looking extremely youthful. He stood out in the crowd, and the girls passing by kept looking back at him. Ethan, I called. He looked up, smiled slightly, and his black and white eyes were clean and clear. Sister. After coming out of the law firm, I let out a deep sigh. Ethan patted my shoulder as a form of comfort. Generally speaking, in law, things that have been given as a gift and have become a fait accompli cannot be taken back. As for loans during the relationship, they should be returned. That means the watch can't be taken back no matter what. I said to myself. Ethan, do you care a lot? I unconsciously frowned. Not really. I just feel like he shouldn't get away with it so easily. Just thinking that this guy had been trying to milk me for money and PUA me made me so angry. Otherwise, I'll go beat him up for you. Ethan said. Blake is quite strong. I'm afraid you'll get hurt. Then I'll just fall to the ground and start extorting him. I was suddenly amused. I turned to look at him. Ethan's eyes were filled with tiny smiles. And his features were gentle. My heart suddenly started beating out of control. I quickly turned my face away and reached out to hail a taxi. Let's go eat. It's on me. There's a delicious Western restaurant in the city center. But Ethan seems to be more into hot pot. Aren't you going to give it a try? Ethan shook his head. Sis. Don't you think hot pot is more exciting? I smiled. Okay. I'll follow your lead. Unexpectedly, as soon as we entered, I saw Blake sitting by the window. He was gesturing with his hands, teasing the girl across from him. The girl was a stranger, but it was obvious she was wealthy, dressed in all branded items. I took out my phone and quickly took a few pictures. Ethan raised his eyebrows. This is quite interesting. Indeed. It seems he's out of money and is hooking up with a new rich woman. I took a can of Coke from the bar and sat down behind them. You have no idea how persistent she is. She chased me all over the building. Almost the whole department knows about it. But I really have no interest in her. I've refused her clearly many times. But she still does as she pleases. She's always the first one to hand me water when I play ball. She buys breakfast and waits downstairs for me when I come down in the morning. When I go out with friends, she tries every way to tag along. I thought about it. When did such a person appear around Blake? Even on my birthday. She gave me a Rolex watch. I spat out the Coke in my mouth. Damn. It was me. Ethan didn't even try to hide his laughter. I rolled my eyes, stood up, and turned around. Blake, what I'm a little sorry. Explain clearly. Who's the one fawning over whom? For a moment, the expression on Blake's face was extremely colorful. The rich woman sensed something was wrong and made an excuse to leave. Blake was about to say something, but I interrupted him. Sis. Run. This guy is a scumbag. I was cheated out of hundreds of thousands, and I'm about to sue him. The rich woman ran even faster. The hot pot meal became tasteless. Not happy? Ethan asked. I sighed and looked at the people coming and going outside the window. I originally thought Luna was a scheming girl, but now I think she's as pitiful as me. Ethan put the cooked tripe into my bowl and disagreed. I don't think so. Blake is a jerk. But she's not a good person either. Why do you say that? I asked suspiciously. Ethan slightly raised his eyebrows. Anyway, having fulfilled my sigh, I can tell. I thought guys didn't understand what a scheming girl was. This kid. I sent Blake a WeChat message, asking him to pay back the money he borrowed as soon as possible. When Blake came to find me, I was in the library. He stood in front of me without saying a word. He looked even more embarrassed than a few days ago. I held back my laughter. I walked out of the library and found a quiet place. So, have you got the money together? I asked. Without saying a word, He thumped, and knelt down. I was shocked. What the hell was he up to this time? Are you crazy? What are you doing? I tried to pull him up. But I couldn't. He took the opportunity to hug my waist and kept saying he was wrong. I'm sorry. Arya. I was temporarily possessed. It was that bitch Luna who seduced me first. She told me to swindle money. She also followed you and took those photos to post on the forum, aiming to ruin your reputation so that you couldn't stay in school and would drop out. I'm really sorry. Arya. I deserve to die. I shouldn't have believed her so easily. Arya. Please forgive me? I swear I'll treat you well in the future. I really like you. Blake, hadakada la sai. Do you really think I'm a fool? Do you really think I can't live without you? Do you really think I'll be repeatedly manipulated by you? I used all my strength but couldn't break his hands. He pressed his head against my stomach and asked pitifully. Arya. Do you really not love me anymore? Love you my ass. I was moved when you played the pity card before because I didn't see your true colors. You really have no shame. Do you? After all we've been through, you still come back to beg me and say such bullshit about really liking me. Blake tightened his hands and continued shamelessly. Arya. It's not bullshit. I was just acting with them. You're the one I truly love. Really. I was really bewitched by that bitch Luna to do those bad things and say those things I shouldn't have. Please believe me one last time. Please. What on earth do you want? I asked patiently. Blake looked at me seriously. I want to get back together. What if I don't want to? He paused. Stood up. And suddenly laughed. You don't want those photos of you in just one piece of underwear to spread all over the school. Do you? I stood there. Stunned for a long time. What do you mean? As long as we get back together. I promise none of those photos will be leaked. I couldn't hold back and raised my hand to slap him. But this time Blake was faster. He grabbed my raised hand. Arya. Do you think I'll let you slap me a second time? I sneered and kicked him hard in the crotch. Blake let out a muffled groan. And his face instantly turned pale. I took the opportunity to run away. A furious roar came from behind me. Arya. I used a bit of strength in that kick. Blake probably couldn't take it and didn't chase after me. That was even better. I took out my phone from my pocket and pressed the recording stop button. Then I went to find Luna. I knocked on the door of her dormitory. She looked at me with hostility. What are you doing here? And she stood sideways, not allowing me to enter. I waved my phone. I have some secrets about you and Blake here. Do you want to hear them? She sized me up. Don't think I don't know what bad idea you're up to. You just want to stir up trouble between me and brother Blake. You. I was annoyed and pushed her aside directly. Luna frowned. Extremely unhappy. I played the recording. And Blake's voice came out unexpectedly. From, that little bitch Luna, to the end of his muffled groan. Luna's expression changed from impatience at first to disbelief. I smiled and turned off the recording. It seems I'm not the only one who was deceived. She rushed over and played the recording again. I simply sat down and let her listen to it to her heart's content. After listening to it twice, she gritted her teeth and cursed. This bastard. I smiled. How does it feel to have your sincere feelings betrayed? Luna gave me a fleeting glance. He has evidence against you. Aren't you afraid? I picked up my phone. He can give it a try. I'll make sure he spends the rest of his life comfortably in prison. A single misstep can lead to eternal regret. Back then, when Blake and I were deeply in love, we went camping once. That's when we stayed in the same tent. The photos were probably taken at that time. Luna also sat down. Blake is my childhood friend. We've been together for 6 years. Although I had vaguely guessed it, I was still greatly shocked. Actually, I've long felt something was wrong with him. He used to stick to me every day. But after going to college, he didn't even call. I came to check on him several times and finally caught you going in and out of the cinema. That night, Blake confessed to me. He said you were a rich woman. And he was nice to you to find a better job in the future. And he swore to me that he would only love me. But later, I found out that besides you, Blake was hooking up with many others. After I got admitted here, he told me it was all your doing. which made his current part-time job very easy and profitable. He bought me luxury goods, took me to expensive Japanese cuisine and Western food. I later found out that it was all your money. After I learned the truth, Blake cried and begged me, saying he only had me left and asking me to help him. I softened my heart and asked my mom for half a year's living expenses at once and gave it to him. By this point, her eyes had started to turn red. I didn't need her to say the rest. Blake didn't try to collect money to pay me back. Instead, he shamelessly continued to hook up with new rich women. When he saw there was no hope, he came back to me and even threatened me. Luna suddenly looked at me and choked. Senior. Thank you. Stop. I stood up. We're not familiar. I'm telling you this just to watch you to fight. How could someone who indulges her boyfriend in hooking up with other girls be a good person? Sure enough, the next day, Luna directly posted a thread, and the fight was much more intense than mine. Exposing Blake from the sophomore architecture department. A scumbag. Blake has been on the hot search quite a lot recently, so the onlookers came especially quickly. Luna posted some chat records. Mostly Blake's sweet words from a month ago. At that time, we hadn't broken up yet. That means Blake was the one who cheated. There were even earlier records, dating back to high school. The post was explosive. The general content was that they were childhood friends. Their mothers were good friends. And they had a childhood betrothal. Blake worked hard and got into a good university. Luna repeated a year of high school and also got in. But after coming to college, she found out that Blake had a girlfriend. No wonder Luna was so hostile to me the first time she saw me. Turns out I was the third party. Blake was entangled with her while bleeding me dry. He also pretended to be a rich guy, buying her LV bags, branded clothes, and treating her to Japanese cuisine. She later found out that all the money was borrowed from me. And the money for Japanese cuisine was also mine. After I broke up with Blake, Luna accidentally took pictures of me and Ethan. She showed them to Blake. Unexpectedly, Blake directly posted the pictures and started spreading rumors about me. And even created a victim persona for himself, making Luna believe it. He kept playing the pity card. And Luna even sold her bag and asked her family for half a year's living expenses to collect money for him. But in the end, he continued to hook up with new girls and even reversed the blame, saying she was the bitch. The comments were all scolding Blake for a while, with all kinds of nasty words and insults to his ancestors. I dug out the sorted out evidence, most of which was him playing the pity card and borrowing money from me, and a small part was him subtly manipulating me. I started a new post and completely exposed Blake. This matter fermented quickly. The next day, even the head of their department knew about it. To be fair, the power of public opinion is really great. I heard that Blake doesn't even dare to go to class now and orders takeout for meals. Luna posted another thread on Weibo and found a marketing account, and it unexpectedly went viral. The school couldn't hold it back and persuaded him to drop out, but Blake refused. In the end, he was beaten up and sent to the hospital. Blake even posted on his WeChat moments, threatening to sue the person who beat him. I saw the photos taken by others. He was black and blue, looking like a pig's head. I wonder which brave hero did this. On my side, I had sorted out the evidence of his threats against me and handed it over to the lawyer. By the time I came out of the law firm, it was already dark. Ethan was waiting for me. "Why are you here?" I asked. He looked up. "I saw your WeChat moment and came. Why didn't you ask me to accompany you? It's not a big deal." A cool breeze blew, and I shivered. "Is it autumn already?" I asked. Ethan smiled and softly replied, "Yeah." Then he took off his scarf, walked closer to me, and wrapped the scarf around my neck. The scarf was very warm, carrying the unique fresh fragrance of Ethan. "You look really beautiful today, sister." His eyes were slightly burning, and my face gradually grew hot. "Blake got beaten up," I said out of nowhere. Ethan was slightly startled and nodded. "He deserved it. Sunny just sent me a WeChat message, saying that you got injured." Ethan awkwardly turned his face away. I reached out and brushed aside the broken hair on his forehead. Sure enough, There was a tiny band-aid on his forehead. I found it a bit funny. What? Are you shy? Ethan touched his nose and said uncomfortably. It's kind of embarrassing. So that's how it was. I wrapped his scarf tighter and turned around. Considering you stood up for your sister. How about your sister treating you to a big meal today? Ethan followed up. He stood behind me on the side, blocking the wind blowing from behind. He smiled, showing his cute canine teeth. Okay. You treat. And I'll pay. On WeChat. Sunny sent a long string of messages. Sunny, hey, Arya. I really couldn't hold it in anymore. Unlike you. And I just had to tell you. Now that the scumbag is out of the picture, I think Ethan can take his place. Do you remember? Those singing rabbits. Handmade cotton slippers. And DIY cakes you received during festivals were all made by Ethan. He asked Blake to give them to you. Unexpectedly. You misunderstood and thought they were from Blake. Blake didn't explain and just took the credit. After Ethan found out, you two were already together. So he didn't say anything. Later, when he realized that Blake had been PUAing you and milking you for money, he directly got into a fight with him and got a disciplinary action. That's why he moved out of the dormitory and rented a house outside. Arya. I've watched Ethan grow up. I'm like a half-sister to him. Ethan is really a good boy. You won't go wrong if you're with him. Also, having fulfilled my exertion, Ethan bought the watch that Blake put up for sale on Xianyu. When I asked him why, he said that even if Blake didn't want it, it was still your thought, and he would keep it well. So that's what happened. I thought about how Blake always had those unexplained injuries during that time. He even lied to me, saying that his part-time job was too tiring and he didn't get enough sleep, so he accidentally bumped into the bed. He won my sympathy. And I transferred him a lot of money, telling him not to push himself so hard. Thinking about it now, I'm such a fool. How could hitting the bed cause an injury on the mouth? But I still couldn't figure out why Ethan asked Blake to give me the gifts. Ethan, why didn't you come to me yourself back then? The person behind me stopped in his tracks. And there was no sound for a long time. I turned around. And he stood there in silence. I walked back. What's wrong? I always wanted him to introduce me to you. But he always said you were busy recently, and that he would deliver the gift and messages. And told me not to worry. That damn despicable guy. Sister. I'm sorry. Ethan frowned, looking wronged. If you hadn't been misled, maybe you wouldn't have been deceived by Blake. This kid. I sighed and gently patted his shoulder. It's not your fault. It's my fault for being blind and not seeing through Blake's true nature. But, in the future, when you meet someone you like, be brave. He looked up, and his eyes looking at me became even more tender. My throat tightened, and I felt a slight pain in my chest. This boy had secretly liked me for a year. Under the premise that I didn't know, didn't recognize him, and there might not be any result. He was resolute and full of love. Suddenly, the evening wind picked up, blowing the hair by my ears. Ethan reached out and gently tucked it behind my ear. His fingertips accidentally touched my neck, and it was scorching hot. You're right. The moonlight was bright and fell on his face. It was so beautiful that it was almost breathtaking. My heart started beating faster again. I wanted to turn my face away, but I found I couldn't take my eyes off him. Ethan slightly curved his lips, and his voice was gentle. Sister. The moonlight is beautiful tonight.